Thank you very much, sir. I begin thanking all the 19 speakers who have participated in this, 18 speakers who have participated in this debate. We've had a series of corporate affairs related legislations on which we are discussing in the last few days. Company law, insolvency, and so on. And I've noticed and I've benefited from the participation of all the members. And each member has given valuable inputs, all of which I wish to take on board. But before I get into specifics of responding to each of the members, I wish to broadly put the picture out, which many members have really effectively captured and who have spoken about it also. I think the spirit behind this code and also the, what I may call frequent amendments, because this being the third in the last 3 years of the code's existence, might appear that we are coming up too frequently with amendments, but the reasons are obvious. Irrespective of some members' observation, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code actually has proved effective, and in the course of my answer I will certainly give figures to prove it, but then the spirit with which this code has come in, and also the way in which it has functioned, together with the types of solutions it is offering, and the expectation with which businesses are approaching for solutions through the Insolvency Code, will have to be put on record. And again, it is not the intent here that every such problematic issue related to companies are taken up only with liquidation as an agenda. IBC doesn't keep liquidation alone as an agenda. In fact, if I can show you the types of solutions which we've come up with, many of them have even been settled much before they have even got into admission stage, but in the light of IBC, and therefore the principle behind IBC and also the principle with which, and the letter and spirit of the legislation with which it is getting implemented, is also what was captured very well by the observation which was made by Sri Pinaki Mishra. How not to allow companies to die is the spirit behind what we are doing through IBC. How not to allow companies to die. If there is any prospect of a company that can be revived, the solution is not to go for liquidation irrespective of the situation, but to ensure that solutions are given as a going concern. Sorry. And therefore the process is aiming at treating companies as going concern, and that singularly explains why Section 5's amendments, that's the first one that we are talking about, bringing in elements of merger, bringing in elements of acquisition and so on. So the solution, merger, demerger, Section 5 amendments are to keep with this idea of keep it as a solution for a going concern rather than, blindly get into liquidation. So issues which have been raised are several, and I will definitely come back to giving you response by each of the members. Issues have been raised about why there are so many litigations now, leading to so many liquidations now. To set the background, I want to inform the members that with the IBC today and the resolutions which are being handled, largely have a stock coming from the BIFR days. 73% of all the cases which are in the line waiting for a solution are those which have been inherited from the BIFR. And if that many number of, and most of these cases which have come from the BIF are stable, are either very sick or totally defunct. So if 73% of them are waiting to get solutions, obviously you have a picture of too many waiting lists, too many liquidations, and that is not as a result of last few years, it's more waiting for decades. And in that, if I can very quickly, much before I get into details, very quickly give you a picture of what liquidation value has been seen here. Liquidation value of 475 companies is 24,417 crores against a claim of 3,46,655 crores. Liquidation value is at 7% of the claims, BIFR being the character there. Then the timeline is one issue on which people have raised a lot of questions. I'll respond to that. As much as questions about haircut, why should it be this much? And the issue of the home buyers, which is very legitimate, and I can definitely tell you that the IBC, in the context of IBC, using IBC, home buyers issues are being addressed. Of course, one of which has had a solution coming from the Supreme Court itself. So if I were to go one by one, I'll be addressing the issues raised by various members. Some are being classified and grouped in my response, although several members have raised the issue. Now, even as we were talking about the backlog, which partly I explained by saying 73% have come from BIFR, yes, it's a matter as to how we are going to address all these pending cases together with those which are mounting now. Capacity of the NCLT, capacity building which is so required. I just want to give you a picture that in view of the increasing number of cases, government has increased the number of, some of the members did mention it, government has increased number of benches of the NCLT from 10 to 15 in the last 1 year itself. Number of members has also been increased in a phased manner, and recently, as was observed by one of the members, 26 new members have been brought in, taking the total to 52 total number of members. More than one court have also been made operational, and the benches where large number of cases are pending, such as Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Kolkata, e-governance, e-court projects is also being implemented in NCLT so that there will be faster disposal. I do not want to take a lot of time, but I want to tell all the members that as regards the benches in Allahabad, Mumbai, Delhi, the CGO complex, Delhi, the MTNL building, and new branches in Amravati, which is in Vijayawada, and in Indore, areas have already been taken up. Interior work is going on. Member Gaurav Gogoi referred to it. So there is a lot of activity going on in terms of physical infrastructure, for which a lot of investment has already been made. They are almost near completion, many of them. So other than this, regular colloquiums are being held for capacity building of members so as to ensure speedier response and uniform judicial delivery system. So for the capacity building officers and employees, relevant training is also being given from time to time. Chairman Sir, there's a lot of emphasis on giving the right training, giving the right kind of exposure to the members so that the quality of resolution will also be high. The National Law University's participation in training is also very well recognized. On the resolution professionals, Sir Speaker, many of the members have raised questions. I'd like to just say the IBBI registers and regulates professionals. They are CAs, chartered accountants, cost accountants, CSs, and advocates with at least 10 years of experience, and therefore we don't expect any dilution in the quality of the resolution professionals, and they also pass an examination which is conducted by IBBI. They have pre and post registration training. So in a way, the capacity issue, both physical capacity and also the training requirements of people are being attended to. So I just want to draw to your attention a point which I briefly mentioned earlier, that IBC is now recognized for its constitutional validity, for its effectiveness, and globally we are seen now as a country which is serious about resolution, corporate affairs matters, and also looking at company affairs in such a way that there is a positive approach. Many members have referred, particularly in the context of the tragic incident which has happened in Karnataka, Bangalore, of an entrepreneur taking, unfortunately, end to the problem by committing suicide, or I do not know. I mean, I'm just using the word loosely because technically we'll have to wait for the inquiry to get over, but resorting to a very, very tragic end. But in that context, I want to say the role that this particular code will play in terms of resolution is something which all of us will have to put our energies together to make it possible, so that business failure, I think Jaydev Gallaji referred to it, business failure in this country should not be tabooed. It should not be looked down upon. It should not be treated as a curse. On the contrary, through proper, legitimate resolutions, we should give an honorable exit from business if that is what the entrepreneur wants, or a resolution to the problem so that the concern can be a going concern with newer equity participants coming into the picture. So the spirit, the letter and spirit of IBC and the frequent amendments which are coming in response to the developing situation outside are all in keeping with this spirit. So our wish, the government's desire is to be able to provide simpler and a fairly considered solution within the statutory frameworks that we have given ourselves. So in that way, I want to just put before the honorable members, respected Speaker, sir, that the number of cases which have been disposed before admission itself, and this is post IBC coming into being a law of this country, that itself indicates to you both the number of cases and also the number of the amount which has been retrieved and dispersed to big and small creditors. The total number of companies cases which have been disposed of under section 7 are 894. Under section 9, 5,102. Under section 10, 83, a total of 6,079 cases, large and small, have all been disposed of even at the point in time of admission, entry. And this data is up to end of February, 28 February 2019. And what is the amount which has been used for dispersal in all these cases? 2,84,000 crores have been retrieved for dispersal, and therefore you can see what kind of a behavioral change is happening in terms of resolution, where there are issues about whether the company can go on or whether the company has to go for liquidation. Compare it with the days when they were waiting as sick companies under SARFAESI, or even the laws which existed before. So this actually has helped us to bring in a behavioral change. People have hope and they expect to have the problems resolved, and the concern which many members expressed. Now if you're going for liquidation, what happens to people who are working there? No, that's not the driving principle. If there is life, if there is a possibility of reviving a unit, revival is given the chance. Thereby, once the whole matter is settled down, it can be run as a going concern, which means the laborers, the employees, all of them are going to be taken care of. They are not going to be thrown out. So the resolution spirit itself is to keep it as a going concern. So I want to take the instance, without naming the company, I want to use this as an example to say, by taking this route through the IBC, is there a loss in terms of what is being paid to people? Not at all. If you look at it, this particular case which was resolved earlier, liquidation value was only 9 crores. Claims of financial creditors was up to 900 crores. Realization for creditors, 54 crores. Realization percentage of claim, 6%. Whereas realization as a percentage of liquidation value is 600%. The company was in BIFR for a decade. Because of IBC, company revived and creditors got 600% of the liquidation value. That's the achievement of IBC. I don't want to say that's the end of the story, but by constantly sharpening, bringing in greater focus and bringing in purpose-serving amendments, we have achieved and we shall continue to achieve, with the cooperation of all the members, a certain kind of culture in the dispute resolution mechanism. Without the IBC, sir, creditors would have got only 1% of the 9 crores of their claim. So that underlines the need for us to be able to keep this alive, keep this relevant to the developments which are happening in the markets and in the economy, and bring in timely this particular thing, this particular set of resolution. I'm grateful to all the members of in the House. All the members have received it in the context in which it's being brought in. So if there are some areas which require greater clarification, greater interpretative explanatory notes, we had to bring it in. Otherwise, you had treatments of all kinds of creditors as being equal, which is unacceptable. So, Sir Speaker, I would want to underline the importance of this set of amendments that we are bringing in the context in which we are bringing in it. Now, again, Speaker, Honorable Member Gaurav Gogoi spoke about haircuts, and later many other members also spoke about haircuts. So here, the government doesn't play a role. It is the Committee of Creditors who takes a resolution plan. And it is not the government, be it even if one of the claimants to the credit which has been lent is a public sector bank or any other institution of the government, you can only lay your claim from your side. It is the Committee of Creditors who take a final call, and that's why voting in it is also a very important thing. Financial creditors, on an average, are getting 43% of their claims, but 188% of their liquidation value. 188%, which is, this is after rescuing a company and bringing in a behavioral change. So this is a very important point when you're talking about haircut. Many examples have been quoted, but the logic behind it is to make sure that we revive the company. But when liquidation becomes inevitable, we do that. So there were quite a few members who spoke about what's the status of the corporate insolvency resolution process, that is the CIRP under the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. As on 30th June 2019, sir, I'd like to say that 120 CIRPs have yielded resolution till date. 120 have yielded resolution. The status of the CIRPs as on 30th June is, I'll present it to you now. Those which have been admitted are 2,162. Closed on appeal or review or settled matter is of 174 cases. Closed by withdrawal under Section 12A are 101. Closed by resolution are 120. Closed by liquidation are 475. Ongoing CIRPs are 1,292. Now, another set of statistics which will be of very relevant as a part of my response, because many members have raised about the number of days that cases wait. I would just want to say ongoing CARPs, which I just read out, is 1,292. More than 330 days, those which have waited, are 335. More than 270 days, 445. More than 180 days, but less than 270 days, 221. More than 90 days, less than 180 days, 349. And less than 90 days are 277. So this is the kind of spread of cases which are waiting for resolution. Well, with the additions being made to the capacity of the NCLT and also the resolution professionals, I don't think it is too ambitious. Sir, some members did raise the question of the 12 large accounts. I just want to give a picture of that, because the 12 large accounts were initiated by banks. Resolution attempts for them have been initiated by banks. Together, they had an outstanding claim of 3.45 lakh crores as against liquidation value of 73,220 crores. Of these, resolution plan in respect of 6 CDs have been approved. Due to failure of implementation of approved resolution plan in Amtech Auto, I'm not sure if Professor Saugata Roy or one of the members referred to that particular case, Amtech Auto Limited, the process has restarted in it. Other accounts are at different stages of the process. The outcome of 6 large accounts that ended with resolution plans is as under. Electro Steels Limited, realization by all claimants as a percentage of liquidation value, 183.45. The successful resolution applicant, there's a list of names, I'm not reading for each one of them, unless if you want it. I will give you. Yeah, but sure. Bhushan Steel, sir? हाँ.
उनको प्रतिवेदन पूरी कहाँ पढ़ते हो आप?
ठीक है जी.
कॉपी भेज देंगे आपको, विद्वान माननीय सदस्य को कॉपी भेज देना आप. कॉपी भेज देना उनको.
हाँ, कॉपी भेज देंगे.
भेज रहे हैं आपको.
I've already explained as to what constituted the backlog, so I'm not going into the other large ones. 73.42% have all come from the BAFR table, and they are not going concerns, and therefore high level of liquidation. Sorry? I have a direction from the speaker that I can write.
जवाब मत दो आप. माननीय मंत्री जी, आप माननीय सदस्य का कोई जवाब मत दो.
Oh, ठीक है सर. Makes my job easy, sir. Sir,
आप जब स्पष्टीकरण करेंगे, जब पूछना ना आप.
माननीय स्पीकर sir, there were questions asked about what happens when a resolution applicant does not fulfill his obligations, the provisions of the resolution plan, for instance. So, action can be initiated against such resolution applicants. The board has also initiated action against such resolution applicants in case they didn't turn up afterwards. So, the regulation also provides for performance guarantee to be brought in by the resolution applicant even at the stage of, finalizing the plan. So there are checks and balances in the system with which we ensure that applicant who has successfully responded to the resolution plan continues and sustains his interest in the thing. This housing resolution has really attracted a lot of attention, and members have expressed their concern about how that is going to be addressed. I want to clearly mention, sir, the committee of creditors have been empowered. The COC is endowed with the duty of working in the interest of all stakeholders. As per Section 334, the COC may approve a resolution plan by a vote of not less than 66%. I am grateful to Member P.P. Chowdhury, who also spoke in detail about it. 66% of voting share, considering the feasibility and viability of the plan and such other requirements of the as specified by the board. Now, in this category, definitely you have a lot of home buyers. Member Supriya Sule did ask a very relevant question, saying, how are you going to have them all come together? They're also scattered. Yes, the resolution professional, together with the committee, will have to issue notices, get people come to respond and take their response, only then go represent them. And the question which you also further asked, and one of the member later asked also, for those who voted in favor of the resolution plan, you're going to give them their flat or the money as they choose. But what happens to those who have voted against? Even for them, there is a provision to be treated at par with, if the resolution plan would stick to Section 53, the waterfall and the waterfall mechanism, whatever is expected to be given to them as per that waterfall mechanism will be definitely given, irrespective of the fact they voted in favor or against. So that is already here. There is one thing which I'll definitely take this opportunity, Speaker Sir, to talk about Jet Airways. A lot of members said, now it's gone to an international court, what is going to happen? I just want to underline the fact that the stakeholders, the debtor or creditor, are free to work out a resolution. They don't need to work out a resolution which is only through the IBC. They are not obliged to use IBC. IBC is only optional. And as regards the case which has gone to Netherlands or some other country, they had a company there, so they are being approaching that court there, and therefore here we are looking at the context through the IBC. And in that, I just want to add one more line. The Insolvency Law Committee has recommended UNCITRAL model for cross-border insolvency. This is under consideration of the government. The Law Minister is here, so I am expanding on it. Section 234 and 235 provide for agreement with foreign countries. This is a bilateral arrangement. It has not been operationalized yet. Jet Airways, I'm coming there. Jet Airways has some office in Netherlands. Based on that, Netherlands court has admitted for bankruptcy. While admitting Jet Airways, the NCLT has refused to recognize Netherlands proceedings. NCLT this order has been appealed to the NCLAT. So that's the status on the Jet Airways matter. There was a talk about fee being charged. Is the fee being very high? Are we going to charge this higher fee for these kind of resolutions? No two CIRPs are comparable, and therefore fee cannot be prescribed high or low. Even if we intend to give a lower fee because it might affect the resolution itself, I think Honorable Member Kanimuri said 1 lakh, if the whole thing is only 1 lakh and you charge 25 to 20,000, what happens? For small debtors, this becomes a big issue. But only because each case is so different, it is difficult for government to establish and prescribe a fee. The amount of default has no bearing on the amount of work involved also by the CIRP. So in a way, why do we not fix up, not only because of size, but also the work remains the same. So both ways we can't fix up the fees.
अब माननीय मंत्री जी स्पष्टीकरण दे लें कुछ, उसमें जवाब देना आप। क्लियरिफिकेशन के टाइम बोल देना। हाँ, प्रोफेसर सोगत राय जी, हाँ बोलो आप। प्रोफेसर सोगत राय जी, बताओ आप। Yes, yes. I want to ask. Professor Sogat Rai.
So for all the Speaker sir, if I understand
She is
you
not
right,
completed.
for all the clarification seekers, you want me to write to them separately and conclude now. I hope the sense of the House is that, because there's another bill waiting, I shall conclude, and I seek all the members and their support in passing this.